Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode Throne of Seal based on novel. So let's start. After following with their eyes the departure of the army, Long Houchen's group resumed their journey, proceeding towards the land of the catastrophe. With the death of so many demon powerhouses, it would be good if they managed to get some demon crystals. Cutting their way into the mountain wasn't something only the demons were capable of. Hearing a story was something, but encountering it was another. At the time Wang Yuanyuan, Lin Xin, Sima Xian, Kia and Chen Yinga arrived, they couldn't help but be totally shocked. Deep inside, they came to imagine what kind of scene they would be subject to if they were present at the instant the mountain crumbled. Boss, what should we do? Sima Xian asked Long Houchen. Long Houchen replied, we shall dig out. Let's see how many magical crystals we can find. No matter what kind of demon they belong to, these demon crystals are all treasures. It will be given for Lin Xin's pill concoction. Good, good. Lin Xin immediately reacted with a smile. This demon operation had pleased this god of fortune of their team enormously. Bringing back all these good things, they were certain to fetch good price in the market or be of some utility to them. Chen Yinga had collected over 300 crystals, which were of the 6th step at least, enough for MacDull to be extravagant. The corpses of many demons and magical beasts, especially forest boars and the devil snake god Andromalius, were collected by Lin Xin. He had the deep impression that after all this, his skills in alchemy were bound to improve tremendously. Becoming a great master was only a matter of time to him. After all, where could there be another alchemist with as many materials available to be used as flagrantly as him? Long Houchen naturally had his own objectives in the act of clearing the battlefield here. With such a commotion, Temple Alliance couldn't possibly remain ignorant. And furthermore, Han Yu's news ought to have already arrived. Surely before long, some army troops would come to their rescue. After meeting with these troops, telling them the real story would be more effective than coming up with an unbelievable report. Besides, not collecting this many corpses and crystals of higher-ranked demons would be a waste. These were precious spoils of war. The glory of opening the way through the mountain was naturally left to Sima Xian and Wang Yuanyuan. Even without additional ability, the terrifying weight and crushing power of the energetic ball of light made it the most ideal candidate for this task. The group figured the path the Fiend King Safan took, and followed it by blowing their way up. One magical crystal after another reached Lin Xin's hands, but this guy seemed dissatisfied. That's because the corpses of these demons were too mangled and hard to make use of. After all, extremely severely damaged corpses would be hard to conserve, even with a spiritual transporting tool. The work of cutting their way into the mountain didn't took too long before the reinforcements arrived. Under Han Yu's lead, the group of elites arrived with shocked expressions at the sight of Long Houchen's group. These elite troops were far less than their expectations, only totaling about 300. But when their distance was of 200 meters, Long Houchen felt their presence, through sensing Han Yu's aura. Wearing veils, assassins clad in grey color appeared to view, very rapidly encircling Long Houchen's group. These assassins didn't let out any aura, and couldn't be sensed at all. Long Houchen's group slowly left the cave, moving slowly. This wasn't deliberate, as they had no choice but to walk slowly, because although these assassins seemed composed, it felt that as long as they made any sudden movements, these 300 assassins would swallow them like a deadly torrent. Boss. Seeing Long Houchen's group come out from the cave, Han Yu immediately called out to him in excitement. He also didn't understand what happened. How could a mountain fall on its side? And why would Long Houchen's group be present here? And where were the enemies gone? His mind was full of questions. Han Yu looked quite tired. Having traveled day and night, he was totally exhausted. From the sound of Han Yu's voice calling out for his boss, the hostility emanating from the grey-clad assassins quietly disappeared. However, they remained unmoving and cold like air. Only a rather slight-built one advanced at Han Yu's side. Long Houchen took large strides forward, telling him the words, "It was hard on you." Han Yu replied in a pressed tone, "It's nothing. Boss, where are the enemies? These demons." He was filled with anxiety. He had brought so many powerhouses from the Assassin Temple in a hurry, but upon reaching the destination, no demons were at sight. Wouldn't that be taken as a lie to the military? Their team definitely wasn't capable of taking such blame. Long Houchen replied, "The demons have all retreated. Take a look." Giving this reply, he pointed at the mountain behind them. Young Demon Hunt Squad Captain, you are heroes for the Alliance, and for our Exorcist Mountain Pass. On behalf of the million military and civilians forming it, I thank you. Long Houchen saluted back to him with respect. Respected Hidden Knight, I should be the one thanking you. The senior revealed a smile. I am the 4th Hidden Knight, commander of this operation. Thinking of having to undergo a fierce battle, I didn't expect to have only come for recovery of materials. I will report your contribution as things are. However, we have to return as fast as possible to the Exorcist Mountain Pass. Oh, right, I haven't asked for your name yet. Long Houchen replied. I am the captain of the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad, Long Houchen, Commander Grade. The 4th Hidden Knight appeared in shock. How could a Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad be in possession of a forbidden spell-ranked scroll? Even for Demon Hunt Squads, these things out to cost at least 1 million contribution points. And could a Demon Hunter even trigger a forbidden scroll of the Earth element? However, following his shock, he suddenly realized how Long Houchen had just named himself. So you are Long Houchen. This time, the tone of this Hidden Knight changed totally. Long Houchen nodded in puzzlement. Yes, that's me. Have you heard of me before? From his point of view, the fact this senior had heard of his name should be related to his relationship with Kia. But even so, there was no need to act so shocked. Of course I heard of you before. You are extremely well known. So it was actually you. Then it's no wonder at all. Hearing his words, Long Houchen was at a loss. Without waiting for his reply, the 4th Hidden Knight seemed to have suddenly become extremely impatient. This won't do. Follow me as fast as possible, all of you. We will return to the Exorcist Mountain Path by flight. Senior, what were you just? Long Houchen was greatly puzzled by this senior, and the same went for everyone else. This 4th Hidden Knight's excitement sounded somewhat abnormal. The 4th Hidden Knight replied. Follow me first. I will explain to you on the way. At long last you guys are back. Afterwards, he instructed the other assassins to return to the Alliance, and took the initiative to bring Long Houchen's group of 7 back, spreading out their spiritual wings, and directly heading towards the Exorcist Mountain Pass. The 4th Hidden Knight replied, this situation isn't only taking place in the Exorcist Mountain Pass, but at all the strategic points of the Alliance. The demons dispatched the overwhelming majority of their troops, launching a holy war against the Alliance. What? Long Houchen had already guessed that this ought to be an intense conflict, but didn't think things would be so serious. A holy war, meaning a war that wouldn't stop until total annihilation. This was a full-strength clash between the two races. But the demons hadn't launched such a war for over 2,000 years. Could they have gone mad? The 4th Heroic Knight glanced at Long Houchen. Do you know why a holy war is happening now? Long Houchen shook his head. How could he guess such a thing? The 4th Hidden Knight replied, the demons came very suddenly, about half a month ago, assembling enormous armies in each major human stronghold. They originally only surrounded them without attacking. The Alliance responded rapidly, transferring their inner troops, making a forced repatriation of the whole available forces, and warning the whole population to prepare for changes. The demon god Emperor Fengxue personally brought out the threat of a holy war, with a single demand. If we could respond to it, they would immediately withdraw, otherwise, they would launch this army of millions of troops, to start a holy war in the edges of the whole Alliance. What was his demand? For the demons to burst out so brazenly, Long Houchen was not only puzzled but moreover full of shock and curiosity. The 4th Hidden Knight took a deep breath, before giving a simple reply. It was you. What? Me? Are you sure? When Long Houchen heard that reply, he felt totally confused and full of disbelief. How could this be? Even if he escaped from Arbao's hands, and caused severe troubles to the demons, every demon hunt squad was the same. How could the demon god Emperor make such a fuss over such a minor issue, triggering this holy war just because of me? The 4th Hidden Knight smiled bitterly. No one understood the motives of the demon god Emperor. But their motives are just as you heard. They wanted the Alliance to hand over you, or otherwise, this holy war would be launched. This was his only request. Not only Long Houchen had a grotesque look on his face. How couldn't it be the same for his comrades? A holy war related to the extinction of one of the demon, or the human race was actually triggered just because of Long Houchen. This simple reason was very hard to comprehend. The nearby Sima Xian couldn't help but react. Could this be because we destroyed a demon god pillar? But the news couldn't have spread so far. Even if he knew, he shouldn't have reacted so rapidly to that. You. Just what did you say? You destroyed a demon god pillar. The fourth hidden knight felt difficulty to even breath. His whole worldview changed totally. Could such a commander-grade demon hunt squad destroy a demon god pillar? How could this be? Just how? Long Houchen was also totally puzzled, immediately denying Sima Xian's hypothesis. It can't be because of that. Even if this war was sudden, the demons needed the time of 1 month to prepare for it. At that time, we were still in Jack City. Is the demon god emperor crazy? At the current time, he was in a confused state of mind, failing to understanding the motives of the demon god emperor. Most of all, he couldn't comprehend how he could have so mysteriously become the target of the demon god emperor. Kia suddenly spoke. Did the alliance accept the condition of the demon god emperor? She, who had become so cautious after losing her memories, suddenly asked the most important issue. The others had instantly become vigilant on that issue. Right? Did the alliance accept the condition of the demon god emperor? After all, even with an even greater talent, Long Houchen was just a single person. Such a holy war would surely put many people in a disastrous condition. Hence it wouldn't be impossible for the alliance to abandon Long Houchen. It could be that this confrontation only took place because Long Houchen hadn't returned yet. If things are really that way, then now. Everyone glanced at each other filled with serious feelings of worry. The eyes of every members gathered all onto the fourth heroic assassin knight, waiting for his reply. What? Hearing the fourth heroic knight's words, Long Houchen immediately felt his blood rise, his entire body shivering. The Knight Temple would actually quit the alliance just for my sake. The fourth heroic knight continued. The warrior temple's reaction wasn't much inferior to the Knight Temple's. Qiu Haohan flipped a table, his eyes wide open. Mentioning it, as the chief of the Temple Alliance, Yang Haohan shouldn't be so categorical in his decision. Qiu Yonghao was the one who forced him to act this way. He said that if the Knight Temple was prepared to abandon you, the warrior temple would spare no cost to defend you. Then in our assassin temple's side, Temple head Xingyu mentioned that as his grandson-in-law that you were, whoever tries to hand you over would have to step on his corpse to do that. Reaching this point, the fourth hidden assassin hero's face expression became odd. At the time of the meeting, he was also present as a representative for the assassin temple, and still remembered that weird situation very clearly. The 6 great temples' representatives hadn't even started the meeting as Qiu Yonghao made this declaration. Afterwards, Senior Alliance Chief expressed that Long Houchen was the only successor for the Knight Temple. If the Alliance came to the final decision of handing him over, the Knight Temple would quit the Alliance. Adding to that Xingyu's declaration, total silence reigned over the whole room. Afterwards, Chief Xingyu jumped up and down, shocking the heads of the 3 magic specializing temples. Originally, the hidden knight somewhat disapproved him. Wasn't it just a youngster under 20 years old? Even if he was particularly endowed, and even if the Temple Alliance didn't plan on handing him over, there was no need for these temples' heads to act so brazenly. But finally, a change started to appear in his attitude ever since he met Long Houchen. Right? That's a demon hunt squad captain, who can bring a commander-grade demon hunt squad to forcibly block the way of the Demon Emperor's Second Legion, and kill at least 1/5 of them, wounding 1/3 of their ranks. How could the temple heads not be concerned over such an issue? Given enough time, this youngster would surely become a legend for the Alliance in the future. The talk continued. From the attitudes of these 3 seniors, the atmosphere of the whole meeting changed. Originally, many higher-ups of the Alliance were not familiar with you, but with that, you earned yourself a great reputation. Afterwards, the Mage Temple's chief stepped in, leading 3 other Hall Masters that came on behalf of the Mage Temple, and calmed down everyone, before analyzing the condition of the Demon God Emperor. First of all, the matter of the congregation was the condition of the Demon God Emperor, claiming a single person, and whether he would be taken out as a bargaining chip to avoid the start of a holy war. This was in itself unusual. Of the 2 possibilities, one was that they had originally planned on starting a holy war, but were only looking for a pretext. And supposing you were already caught by the demons, it would then make sense as we wouldn't possibly be able to hand you over. The second possibility was that your existence could threaten the demon's rule. Only this explanation would make him view you so importantly. But no matter which motive, you couldn't possibly be handed over, so these 3 didn't need to act so emotionally. This is simply called being blinded by one's concern. Hearing the words of the 4th hidden knight, Long Houchen's comrades finally relaxed down. Since the alliance came to a consensus, Long Houchen was naturally safe. The fourth hidden assassin knight let out a smile. The rest of the meeting turned out even more interesting. Long Houchen, your inside information has been entirely revealed, as the Knight Temple couldn't possibly keep the information related to you hidden. After all, this related to the whole alliance, and the second part pertained on introducing everything regarding you. Han Yu asked, then, what did the alliance decide regarding Captain? The fourth hidden knight replied, this wasn't discussed back then. It was discussed in private by the temple heads, so I don't know about the specific details. Only the order that if one found you, they had to immediately bring you to the closest stronghold. In all likelihood, you will have to meet with Headmaster Xing Yu to know his answer. At least nothing bad will come out. In the process he flew to the Exorcist Mountain Pass. The fourth hidden knight came to know more regarding this demon hunt squad. Aside from Long Houchen, the other spiritual energy didn't permit them to sustain such long times of flight. But don't forget the cheat-like ability, Han Yu has to enable the group to go beyond their limits. So at midway, when everyone nearly exhausted their spiritual energy consumption, he activated the spiritual stove of blessings of light. In a short amount of time, everyone recovered their whole spiritual energy, its powerful utility even affecting the fourth hidden knight. After obtaining the accurate information from the fourth heroic knight, Long Houchen felt somewhat heavy. Given his intelligence, if he hadn't guessed what the reason why the demon god emperor imposed such a condition to the Temple Alliance, he wouldn't be fit to be called a god's chosen one. Hao Yue, my good brother, just what kind of antecedents do you have? In your own world, you're considered a terrible disaster, and this time, even the demon god emperor is showing such fear towards you, actually having no scruple to trigger a holy war. Is your potential so terrifying? Long Houchen was indeed certain that the demon god emperor hadn't launched this holy war for his sake, despite his status as a god's chosen one. In the long history between demonkind and mankind, god's chosen ones had appeared before. For instance, this was the case for the sign of Samsara of that time, wasn't it the same for him? Only one god's chosen one wouldn't possibly be enough for the whole demon clan to make such a big fuss. Because this wouldn't be worth it. Remembering about everything that happened close to Hao Yue, the answer easily appeared in Long Houchen's mind. First, at the time he confronted the demon gods for the first time at the Exorcist Mountain Pass, Long Houchen still remembered vaguely about the three rather lower-ranked demon gods that they had encountered. That time, before fainting, he seemed to have heard Hao Yue's cry, who finally saved him. Although he didn't know what Hao Yue did, he was certain that he was the one who intimidated these demon gods, enabling him to return with his future father-in-law Xing Lingxin, without any death in the battle. A short time later, he encountered for the demon god emperor for the first time. That time, it was for Hao Yue's sake that he had come. At that time, Hao Yue was still three-headed, and although he wasn't clear on why the detection of the demon god emperor failed, from the situation, he surely knew since back then that Hao Yue would bring disaster to the demon race in the future, which explains why he came to the Exorcist Mountain Pass so eagerly. The various things that happened afterwards were still clear in Long Houchen's head. Hao Yue released his purple aura to cause various powerful demons to shrink back on various occasions. Among these included Arbao. And the last element that confirmed Long Houchen's supposition for sure was this time in the swamps of gloom. Never could he have expected that Hao Yue would accomplish what humankind never succeeded in over 6,000 years. The destruction of a demon god pillar. No wonder the demon god emperor would view Hao Yue so importantly. His very existence was a threat to the core of the demons. If Hao Yue and him were let to grow, perhaps demonkind would really face destruction by their hands. If such a day really came, it would be the best. Long Houchen had never doubted Hao Yue. The relationship between the two of them had always been perfect, each of them having a part of the counterpart's blood flowing in their veins. The reason for his strength greatly surpassing his other comrades could be mostly related to Hao Yue. Moreover, every evolution of Hao Yue's brought a change in him, greatly reinforcing his spiritual energy. He certainly wouldn't hand Hao Yue over. Even if he died in the process, he had to protect Hao Yue with his all. But of course, if he died for real, with the effects of their contract, Hao Yue would unfortunately follow him in this fate. But Long Houchen's pressure was really hard to bear. No matter what one said, Hao Yue and him were the reason for the holy war initiated by the demons this time. Forces of over 10 million in the demon side were opposed to the resistance of an army of over 1 million humans. The terrible situation that the people were going to be put in was obvious. The fourth heroic knight directly brought them to a meeting room in the Assassin Temple, before making his report in a hurry. Without any outsider present, everyone unconsciously focused their eyes on Long Houchen. Every one of them was filled with complex feelings, with only Kia at a loss. At the time she entered the assassin temple, her expression seemed to have changed. Faintly, Kia felt a sense of familiarity with the place. Boss, is something weighing in your mind? Lin Xin looked at Long Houchen with some concern. A large-scale invasion, the holy war launched by the demon god emperor. These news struck the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad hard. And moreover, Long Houchen was in the core of this storm. How could his comrades be free of worries? Long Houchen shook his head with no hesitation. It's nothing. We will just have to listen to the arrangements the Alliance is planning for. You all heard what the fourth hidden knight said. I am only thinking of fighting for the sake of the Alliance right now. Yeah, we have to fight for the sake of the Alliance. Sima Xian's eyes flickered with an ominous glint, itching to rush to the battlefield. The others nodded in turn, having steadied their minds. Long Houchen was the soul of this team, and although he couldn't be said to have been flawless on the past missions, at least he was very reliable. As long as his mind is steady, there won't be issue, and everyone would naturally be a lot better. Actually, Long Houchen's current frame of mind was bound to be complex. Only he understood the real reason that the demon god emperor started this holy war was to get his hands on Hao Yue and him. If he stood up, maybe this whole war could be ended, but could he do that? The answer was uncertain. This was a war between two races, and even without this trigger, along with the continuous human growth, this holy war would sooner or later erupt. And Long Houchen may be the sign of light, but that doesn't prevent him from cherishing his life as well. More importantly, the one who would have to pay the cost of his life to stop this war wouldn't be him, but his good companion and good brother Hao Yue. Everyone had their own selfishness. Even with the cleanest and holiest heart he could possibly have, Long Houchen remained in the end a human. He also had selfish desires of his own. How could he just look at Hao Yue dying like that? This was absolutely impossible, but he wasn't also willing to see the people in terrible situation, because of the holy war. Therefore, his mind was in total disarray. He already had the resolution that no matter what the final verdict of the Alliance would be, even if he was handed over, he would support this decision until the end. And he already resolved himself to report the threat presented by Hao Yue to the demon race to the Alliance, leaving everything for them to decide. Making such a decision was very painful to Long Houchen, but at the same time, he felt a lot more relaxed after doing it. At least he could now forgive himself. At worst he would be sacrificed by the Temple Alliance, and if things really ended this way, he would only choose to die in battle alongside Hao Yue. The presence of fourth heroic knight was very effective. The surrounding space slightly shivered all of a sudden. Long Houchen's sharp eyes were locked onto a single place. His right hand made a sudden move, before immediately returning to its previous position. The next instant, a grey figure stepped on the floor, stepping forward. That was the chief of the Assassin Temple, Xingyu. Xingyu's look was attracted to Long Houchen seeing him withdraw his hand. And his eyes seemed to have a different look. His second target of view was naturally Kia. When Kia came into contact with Xingyu for the first time, her body shivered slightly, and her lost look seemed to have crackled slightly. Looking blankly at him, she seemed to have entirely gone stiff. Xingyu believed that his great-granddaughter was in a state of excitement from seeing him, but didn't pay her any more attention, looking back towards Long Houchen. But he still didn't say a single word, lifting his hand, grabbing Long Houchen's head underneath. With Xingyu's strength, the mere flicker of his 5 fingers caused her astonishingly cold killing intent to spread out instantly, causing the temperature in the whole meeting room to plummet. A terrible oppressive force instantly surrounded Long Houchen's body. Who would have thought that this senior would act aggressively immediately upon arriving? And Xingyu's speed reached such a degree that at the time his hand was lifted, it immediately appeared in front of Long Houchen's eyes, grabbing him without giving anyone a mere chance to react. Long Houchen's reaction speed being incomparably fast, at the time Xingyu's look fell once again on him, he felt a sense of crisis. Originally sitting on a chair, he didn't immediately stand up, because he didn't have the time to do so. His right foot stamped onto a nearby chair, making use of it to slide backwards. Meanwhile, his right hand advanced, pointing to the emptiness as fast as lightning. One could see that in this mere instant, Long Houchen's right hand shone like a golden crystal. With a sharp sound of hiss, a bolt of sword chi was shot in the emptiness, and an orange glint of light protected Long Houchen under its scope. The golden sword aura directly hit Xingyu's palm, encountering no obstruction, and delaying his right claw-like hand. At the time this right claw descended for the second time, and what it hit was the shield wall erected by the divine snail shield of sun and moon. Long Houchen's shield wall ability was unleashed almost instantly. With the addition of his full power sword intense strike, Xingyu's right hand only managed to streak across the surface of the shield wall. The divine snail shield of sun and moon let out another orange glow of light, pushing him backward without any harm inflicted to Long Houchen. The coordination of the whole team was displayed right then. Although no one understood why Xingyu would act against Long Houchen, their experience fighting side by side was really plentiful. Down to the extent that right after Long Houchen just started to act, the others immediately followed. Sima Xian's right hand was swung, letting the energetic ball of light liberate strident noises as it smashed toward Xingyu. And it simply obstructed his way, letting him no way to keep attacking Long Houchen. A resonant phoenix cry followed instantly, Lin Xin having no hesitation to trigger his phoenix of Heart of Fire. Facing a powerhouse of the ninth step, was there another choice but to go all out from the beginning? Han Yu's scarlet wild sword carried a frantic aura, as it chopped forward, in front of Xingyu's path, aiming at his knees. Wang Yuan's divine soul shield flew over, aiming straight at Xingyu's neck. Han Yu and the rest were covering the top and the bottom, and with the addition of Sima Xian, they could be said to have stopped all Xingyu's possible routes. What shocked Xingyu the most was that at the same time these little guys reacted, overflowing flames burst out. The terrifying might of the devil dragon filled the whole room almost instantly. To say nothing about the mere room, the whole assassin temple ought to have sensed the presence of this dragon might. Kia was the only one who didn't make any move. She was still in a completely dull state, standing unmoving foolishly, and thinking of something no one knew about. Xingyu was indeed worthy of his reputation of assassin temple chief. Facing the siege of these youngsters, despite his inner shock, his reaction wasn't slow at all. His feet slightly moved, and in a flash after avoiding the energetic ball of light ramming from the side and pushing it with his right hand, his body floated horizontally, kicking with his both feet, at Wang Yuan and Han Yu's attack. These youngsters were still only at the sixth step of cultivation. Xingyu having reached the ninth step, although he didn't look down on them, he wouldn't possibly use his full strength against opponents of this level. So he only used the most basic spiritual energy operating, reacting by the means of his instinct. But against Xingyu's expectations, he was too careless. He had indeed underestimated the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad too much, especially the formidable power of Sima Xian's energetic ball of light. When Xingyu tried to cut through it, in his imagination, this weapon had to be very heavy, but Sima Xian's spiritual energy was bound to it, so he would surely be sent flying. Drawing force from the propelling power following his attack, he would kick the two attacks from the flanks. After that, dealing with the hissing phoenix unleashing blue fire would be no issue. But the instant after his right hand came into contact with the gigantic ball of light, Xingyu realized his mistake. That stupid-looking weapon was actually a lot more frightful than he imagined. With strident sounds of blast, Xingyu felt a powerful force shake his hand. This was the crush, absorption and triple blast abilities from the gigantic ball of light. If it was only that, Xingyu wouldn't sustain any wounds with his spiritual energy over 100,000 units. More crucially, at the time of using the energetic ball of light, Sima Xian utilized his spiritual stove of purple godly thunder. Therefore, the instant Xingyu's right hand touched it, purple lightning suddenly burst out, ramming straight at his palm to spread widely into Xingyu's whole body. With such strength of spiritual energy, wounding Xingyu was unthinkable for the spiritual stove of purple godly thunder. However, the paralysis triggered by the thunder took effect. To a powerhouse at the level of Xingyu, no detail could be deemed insignificant in times of battle. Even if it made contact for less than a second, this shook off his whole plan. The 2 feet he shot in the air went numb, before colliding with the scarlet wild sword and the divine soul shield. Xingyu was extremely strong, but that was only physical strength. What he collided with was legendary equipment. Wang Yuan and Han Yu were kicked away, but Xingyu also wasn't good off. Characterized by their frantic glints, these 2 legendary equipment devastated his paralyzed body, delaying him even further. Right at this moment, the blue fire phoenix reached him, instantly gushing out with red-hot flames, and bursting out with terrible might that almost engulfed Xingyu's whole body. Phoenix Heart of Fire. This was the only ability of a fused spiritual stove, and it caused Lin Xin to suffer an enormous backlash every time he used. Originally, at the time he had just obtained this technique, he managed to use it to block a zombie king of the 8th step, wounding him to a great extent. Xingyu was naturally stronger than a zombie king, but the biggest issue was that he was caught unprepared. Lin Xin was becoming progressively more proficient in controlling fire. So, at the time he intervened, the power in his phoenix heart of fire already accumulated, all of which burst out upon colliding. "You little rascals." Xingyu cursed loudly, busting out with a sparkling grey light. His sharp aura immediately cut the throat of the blue phoenix, causing it to disappear in a flash, and everything returned to normal. With a kick after another, the group of males, including Long Haochen, whose shield wall retracted after being sent flying. But Xingyu didn't keep attacking, confronting the devil dragon that was occupying half of the room with a grotesque expression. He was highly alert. "Ying'er, stop it. The senior doesn't have any malicious intention." Although Long Haochen was in pain from the kick, he ordered in a hurry. The might of the devil dragon was just too great. Causing the assassin temple to misunderstand wouldn't do any good. With a flash of black light, under the dumbstruck gaze of Xingyu, the previously aggressive devil dragon turned back into the shape of a frail little pig held in Chen Ying'er's arms, even showing a taunting look. Xingyu's mouth and eyes twitched, cursing at them one more time. "What a group of little rascals you are. Why did you become so fierce? Is this uncle a demon?" Xingyu's look was indeed hard to look at. His clothes were scorched along with some of his hair. A burn even appeared on his left cheek. That was truly a sorry figure. Xingyu wanted to find a private place to curse at himself. All he did was to try out their skills a little. It was to the extent that he was disgraced. These little rascals, don't they even know about being lenient? "Great-grandfather, please spare us. This wasn't intentional." Long Haochen hurriedly advanced with a smile on his face, paying his respects as a junior in the form of a salute. Xingyu snorted, "You little one are the worst of all. Don't you know how worried you made us? So what about me coming to lecture you? From what I see, you little bunch of bastards have shown quite interesting reactions. Is there such bitter hatred between us all?" Seeing Xingyu's sorry figure, everyone naturally understood that this elder was only trying out Long Haochen. Now they didn't even dare to laugh at the scene, keeping their heads down without muttering a word. Part 1 end here.